Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Scott Luton and Greg White with you here on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to today's live stream. Gregory, how are we doing today?
I'm doing quite well. Scott, how are you?
Uh, wonderful, wonderful.
Feeling pretty bad for a good friend of mine who's a Jacksonville fan, and of course Trevor Lawrence, but I think he's a tough kid.
So we are jumping right into the NFL discussion today. So if you missed
We
that
gotta
game
hope,
last night,
right?
that's right. Greg's talking about a big injury, one of my favorite Clemson players, but we're going to keep our fingers crossed. Hope he's back. And Greg, I think we're going to be joined by a couple of very passionate fellow NFL fans momentarily. And
Indeed.
we might dabble with a little bit of sports, but great story here today and discussion as we dive into the story of an organization that, despite one of the most challenging transportation markets in the last, I don't know, decade or so, they've been fighting a good fight and growing and thriving. And we're going to be talking about a key component behind all that growth, which is innovative and scalable technology and a little football. Greg, should be a great show, huh?
Yeah, we got to keep them off the football too much because they are, as you said, passionate fans. But I think that there's probably some worthy football discussion. But yes, of course, this is a really fascinating situation, isn't it? I mean, we've had some big economic news. I mean, mortgage rates went down, if you can
Right.
believe that. People are expecting as many as 4 rate cuts from the Fed next year.
Okay.
So
Keep that
maybe
good news
we've
coming,
beat,
Greg.
yes, maybe we've beat inflation. I don't know. We'll
Mm.
see.
I like your healthy optimism, and we're going to dive more into that, I'm sure, in some upcoming buzzes. But today's discussion, and really a great story, folks, you're going to really enjoy it. So, with all of that, we want to bring in our featured guest here today, Austin Pearson, co-owner and executive vice president of customer sales with West Michigan Transport, and Anthony Saratelli, director of customer success with Turvo. Hey, Austin, how you doing?
Guys? Good, man. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Victory Tuesday.
That's right. Victory Tuesday. So, Austin, folks, if you don't know, Austin is a big Detroit Lions fan, longtime Detroit Lions fan. And then, Anthony, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Really enjoyed our pre-show conversations. Anthony is a longtime Cowboys fan, and of course, if y'all
Oh
listen
boy.
to us at all, Greg's a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. So, folks, we've got NFL analogies, I'm sure, plenty over the next hour. But Anthony and Austin and Greg, great to see y'all here today. So, what goes with football like a good, tasty adult beverage? So that's where we're going to start. A little
There
fun
you
warm-up
go.
question here, right? So, folks, it's a holiday and you don't even know it because on this day back in 1933, Amendment 21 of the U.S. Constitution, well, that was repealed. That's right. On December 5th, 1933, prohibition was ended and the good times commenced. So today is celebrated officially as National Repeal Day. I'm not going to ask what was the Greg's glass there, but
Water.
okay. All right. Fair
Unfortunately.
enough. I was hoping
Yeah.
it's going to be exciting. So, with that as a backdrop, folks, and I want to start with Austin. We're going to go around the horn. What would be your go to adult beverage to celebrate this momentous holiday? Austin?
I'd say just a Hendrix and soda. I'm a big gin guy. So
Okay. Hendrix and soda. Okay. Anthony, how about you?
Man, I spend a lot of time on the road and it's a lot of long meetings. And I got to tell you, I don't know where I picked this up because it's going to sound like I'm fancier than I am. But after a long day of meetings, nothing hits the spot like it's got to be two dirty martinis.
Ooh.
2.
Okay. Vodka or
Like
gin
that.
martinis?
Typically I go vodka. It's something about it's salty, it's strong, and it's what you need after a long day.
Okay. I like it, Anthony. I like it. I'm tracking with you. Okay. So, Greg, we've got a gin lover, a vodka lover. What about you?
Well, I mean, if we talk about what we love, I would have to say it would be probably Macallan 23. Neat.
Ooh.
But I think the most appropriate celebratory would be the moonshine we found under the false floor in my great grandparents' house when we were moving them out when I was a kid. So,
Wow. There's lots of stories there, Greg.
yeah.
The stories
Yeah,
how
I doubt
you
there's any of that left. I'm not sure that moonshine gets better with age. I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
the answer to that.
We'll have to pick up the phone and give Tommy Townsend a ring. A
There
Georgia
you go.
moonshine
Granddaddy
distillery.
Mims.
That's right. All right. So Greg and Anthony Austin, I'd love to get some of the stories related to those adult beverages. But hey, for now, we're going to move forward. We got a lot to get into here today. And hey, we got Eugene out there. Good morning. Great to have you. Kendall out there via LinkedIn, and Justin. He's a big Martinis fan as well. Anthony. Daryl says La Familia Reserve Tequila. Okay, Daryl. Love it. Randy from the upstate. Ashley. Nice crisp Coke Zero. All
There
right.
you go.
A lot of good stuff there. All right. So what we're going to do, Anthony, Austin, and Greg, I want to start by setting the stage a bit, offering up some context. And Austin, y'all been rocking and rolling at West Michigan Transport. Tell us about the business and your role there.
So West Michigan Transport, based out of Holland, Michigan, here right on the lake. Been here really my whole life. So it's good. But I guess bigger news, we just opened up the Grand Rapids office here about September. So yeah, about 3 months ago. Crazy. It's been flying by. So that's been great. 10,000 square foot office. We've only got 14. I'm actually out here today. So it's cool. I'm typically in Holland more, but yeah, no, it's been great. A co-owner and executive vice president for sales, and obviously heavily involved in our sales program and training. A lot of our new employees and customer facing. Big decision maker on a lot of the technology. I think what makes us strive is being having the relationships with our customers and our carriers, but we definitely need to stay ahead of the technology and where everything's going. So, this same time last year, we were only at 20 people, and we're actually over 40. We've got another 4 people coming on in January, so it's been exciting.
That is outstanding. That growth, and you're in Grand Rapids now. Is that right, Austin?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could switch it around. I could show you, give you a tour of the office.
Let's get the weather report. Most importantly,
That's
it's
right.
not snowing. I had
he knows what everybody means when they say weather
Yes.
report in Grand Rapids.
Well, and lunchtime is approaching, so I'm sure y'all got some delicious grub there, hometown grub in Grand Rapids. We'll have to get a report after the show. All right. So Anthony, we've enjoyed lots of shows with you and the Turvo team, and I love hearing Austin's some of the themes that relates to their success. Focus on the customer, those relationships, on the ecosystem, and that's y'all have a lot in common there at Turvo. So tell us, for the handful of folks that may not have caught those earlier shows, tell us about Turvo and your role.
Yeah, Turvo is a collaborative supply chain platform. So really, we're providing end-to-end visibility, collaboration, and execution. Everything from appointment scheduling to orders inventory management to shipment, transportation, visibility, and execution. We're going to focus more today on the TMS portion of our suite of products. My role as director of customer success, I think that I have one of the most fun jobs maybe in the whole country. I don't know. But I get to spend my time working with our customers to kind of put together a strategic map of where do we go from here? You got live, you went through the pains of implementing a new TMS. How do we align our businesses to deliver the outcomes that are going to drive ROI for you?
I love that, Anthony and Austin and Greg. As we continue foreshadowing the conversation and the story, we really enjoyed these conversations and just love where their heads are. The focus on what we can do for our customers, what can we do for our drivers, what can we do to scale business. Your thoughts, Greg?
Yeah, it is an ecosystem, right? So you have to look at it holistically and solve combinatorially. I love that word. But everything is interdependent, right? Just like an ecosystem. So, the butterfly effect is in full force, as I like to say, in supply chain. So these sort of far-reaching type solutions that allow you to touch every aspect of your supply chain are so important, because you can't do it inside your own 4 walls anymore, right?
That is right. Combinatorially. Wow, that is a word, and I'm not sure I said it right, but we're going to go with it.
I think you got it. I'm going to give you credit.
Okay, thank you. I need all the credit we can get. Hey, Randy talks about Mount Gay rum from Barbados. I've had that. That is delicious. And Brooks also likes a good scotch there, Greg. So we'll have to have some conversations after today's show.
That sounds good. I have
Yes, doesn't it?
Barbados. Where do I buy that?
Man, well, hey, all right.
Anywhere. I mean,
Anywhere,
I'm
okay.
not that I buy a lot of it.
All right, so Randy, tell us where your favorite place is to get good Mount Gay rum. Okay, so Austin, let's continue leaning into the fascinating story at West Michigan Transport. Congrats again on all the growth. I love that the
Thanks.
20 new team members that will have some awesome opportunities as y'all continue to grow. So you and the leadership team, as we've learned, leaned heavily, obviously, into growth mode, right? And it's paid off handsomely, even in these most challenging times in the transportation market that we all know and have been experiencing and analyzing, you name it. We're going to get to a lot more about that in a second. But that key eureka moment that you and your leadership team had, that your previous TMS, as Anthony kind of mentioned, but it wasn't really supporting your growth. And in fact, it might have been more a constraint. So tell us about the kind of that moment of truth that y'all had.
Yeah, I think originally even started when I first started, 7 years ago almost. I came from a bigger brokerage, and obviously wanted to grow that. And as it was a glorified Excel spreadsheet. We did, a couple years later, go to something a little more advanced. But it was we didn't have like a mobile app for our operations guys, so everyone had to bring their laptop home. It was something that they were always kind of strapped to that. The data was manual. There's so many decisions that we have to make, whether if it's account reviews or even lane data, like what's our top lanes or, for our customers, and being able to sell that to a prospect. But even just making, operations more efficient, and how many loads an operations guy is building in a day or in a week or in a month, and where we can maybe, the big thing is, all right, how many loads per head per day is kind of what we were focusing on.
Right.
And then really even just, there was really lack of a training program and customer service. I mean, we never really had a point of contact. Now I've got Anthony, and, shout out to Gil. And I mean, even there's been a few times where even we've hopped on a call with Billy. So shout out Billy, the CEO of Turvo. And, to have that relationship and a true partner and a TMS is, I can't speak highly enough.
Okay, that's quite a list. So we're going to dive a little more into some of those features, which help you build competitive advantages in just a second. But Anthony, I'm going to bring you in, then I'll get Greg's take here. Anthony, when you hear some of those constraints that Austin mentioned, from the glorified Excel spreadsheet to the manual data to even the lack of training, right? What does that where does that take your mindset there? Where does that take your head?
Well, from the Turvo side of things, we have a world-class product, but our strategy is pretty simple. We're customer obsessed, right? The customer's always first, and that's why our CEO's on calls with customers. We're focused on building a world-class product and continuing to enhance that. Absolutely. But, the thing that I really, really like about the West Michigan story is there was like a conscious decision to say, all right, let's go grow. And let's go be really strategic about the technology that we're going to procure to support that. And what we're doing differently with Turvo is that collaboration with execution that a lot of the market really isn't ready for yet. And there's a story that I hope we find time for Austin to tell, where they were kind of sitting down and they said, all right, now let's go. And it just so happens that they're growing through a transportation market that's so bad that Trevor Lawrence can't even get a ride to the locker room.
Oh, but I'm pumped.
No, Anthony, that was good. All right, so Greg,
is he okay? Is there an update on T1? You're the Clemson guy, Scott.
We need to have Catherine look into that.
Right.
Give us a Trevor Lawrence update, please.
Thank you. We got our sources out there. We're gonna get an update. But hey, and we will definitely get to that story in just a second, Anthony. Greg, when you hear those constraints, what West Michigan Transport was fighting through and continue to fight through and winning. And then, of course, what Anthony and Turvo are committed to. What's your thoughts there, Greg?
I think it takes a really conscious effort, and I think the admirable part is the decision by Austin and his colleagues to consciously and intentionally grow the system, and then the company, and then to recognize that it takes a commitment to technology and process and people to do that, right? And we're talking to them in their new office, so I guess it seems to be working out pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think that's critical, right? Is so many companies, when Austin, you said that, I was thinking so many companies, they get in their own way. It's more than their technology, it's them, and the failure to recognize that things have to change if you want to grow, right? Over the course of a career or over the course of a business growth, you hit these ceilings and you have to crash through those at various times, and it takes intentional effort and a recognition by management that something needs to change in order to get us there. So I
Right.
think that's a really, really mature business approach and admirable, one a lot of companies should mimic.
Yes. And be bold and not fearful of taking that action, Greg. Great point.
Of making that one person in that dark corner that doesn't want to change from their spreadsheet. Look, everyone's
Yeah.
smiling. Everyone knows who that person is in their
Totally.
respective
It
company.
was like pulling teeth a little bit, you know. I mean, it dig into the story that Anthony wants me to, but like we weren't really intentionally trying to grow. I mean, we kept adding just awesome members to our team. I mean, we grew organically between just referrals from our customers. I mean, even just drivers and carriers because they wanted to work with us. I mean, we paid carriers a lot faster than your typical your brokerage, and we're just okay, like let's try to actually go grow this thing. And, we needed to get a TMS that's going to be able to adapt and be able to link up with, other technologies as well that we've invested in as well.
Excellent point. Wish we had cameras around the room as y'all are getting through that process there. All right. So where we want to go next, Austin, Anthony, and Greg, I want to talk a little bit more about features, and you've already kind of spoken some of those, but I want to make sure we got all those out on the table. And then we're going to talk more about how they are blossoming into true competitive advantages, right? But first, Muhammad. I'm gonna celebrate. Muhammad says combinatorially. I can't even spell it correctly. Well, try to say it with me, Muhammad. It is very challenging. I'll leave those big words to Greg here today. And also, Randy says Total Wine and more in Greenville, South Carolina for Mount Gay Rum.
Hidden gem.
There you go, hidden gem. All right, so let's keep driving with the story. So let's talk. We've already touched on constraints, and at the same time, Austin, you've kind of touched on some of the TMS features y'all were looking for. But what else? You want to add anything else to that list that you were working for in terms of what your team determined you needed so that you can scale and then meet and surpass your accelerated 3-year growth plan at West Michigan Transport? What else, when it comes to features, what else was there?
Yeah, I think the training program that Turvo offered was excellent. We've kind of put our little twist, obviously, and just kind of to make it WMTs our own. But I mean, you compare Turvo for me to like the iPhone, right? Like, I mean, they're you pick up an iPhone. I mean, there's not really a how to. I mean, there's some classes if you really want to go to the Apple store, but if you want to figure out how to do something like on Turvo, I mean, you can figure it out. I mean, the same thing with an iPhone, right? Like you pick up an iPhone and you can figure out. I mean, it's very easy to walk through it, and so that's really been a big thing for us.
Okay.
I think
intuitive and easy to use, Austin, is what I'm hearing you say, right?
Yep. So, I mean, like we just brought a sales class on a seven sales reps, and I think to be able to speed up that training and to, we want to make some of these, new reps that haven't been in logistics before, I mean, feel like a pro within the first 3-4 weeks. I mean, obviously there's some things that they've run into and some commodities or things that they have never know how to ship. And there's some things that, might need to be specialized, but I think that was a really big thing for us.
Outstanding. All right. So, Greg, being the technologist and the serial founder in the tech space, technology platforms that are truly easy to use that will help folks actually use the platforms, right? Embrace it. Adoption. That's a really important thing, right, Greg?
Technology is a tool for people to get done. So that's all technology needs to do, and make it. And the easier you make it, the better. And I think, we always called it the elegance of simplicity because it takes so much effort to put so much work behind the screens and behind the scenes and in the code so that it is simple for the user to use and to accomplish their job. And one of the things you have to recognize as a technology provider is people don't want to use technology. They want to get the benefits of technology, right? And the less using of it they have to do to get the benefits, the better off they are. Technology should never be a hurdle or a hindrance, right? It should always be an accelerant.
Excellent, man. Good stuff there. All right, so Anthony, My hunch is that ease to use, which drives effective and full adoption. I bet y'all hear that from a lot of folks out there you're working with, huh?
We do, and I think I cut out for a little bit there, so I didn't hear the full question.
Yeah.
My-
So Austin was kind of weighing in on some of the other features, right? We were kind of comparing and contrasting both the constraints of the previous platform and then some of the features they were looking for, as well as what Turvo has delivered. Before we get into some of the competitive advantages there, and one of the things Austin pointed out was just how intuitive the platform is and how that's helped not only the current team members use it, but also as they hire new team members, how that helps onboarding and helps them lessen that learning curve. So Anthony, that's I bet y'all hear a lot of that out there in the marketplace, huh?
We do, and I think, Greg, you said it really well, that technology should always be an accelerant. And when I think about how we look at success as business partners with our customers, I always try to keep things pretty simple, and they usually fall into one of three things, right? And it's improving retention. That could be customer retention, carrier retention, employee retention. That's
Right.
really important in this market. It's going to increase scalar efficiency. That comes with automating workflows or managing and reducing costs. And then, what I love about Turvo is that it becomes part of your go-to-market. I mean, our customers that are successful, Turvo is a revenue driver for those customers. And the beauty of it is, I called it a platform, and it is a platform. We have an open API, and it can be modular in the sense that if there's something that you've decided to build or you want to use outside of Turvo, you can integrate and bring those things right into the platform to accelerate your whole tech stack.
So Anthony, I appreciate that. You must have a crystal ball and it must be working, because that's where I'm headed next with some of those competitive advantages you laid out there. Starting with that last one, it helps. It's part of your go-to market strategy for organizations out there that are leveraging it, like Austin and the team are. So Austin, back to you. When you think of how, as y'all tackled the constraints, you've partnered with Turvo, for certain features, you've seen those features and benefits that you've already spoken to start to be leveraged. As Anthony was laying out some of those competitive advantages there, speak to what you've seen and what your team have begun to realize there at West Michigan Transport.
Yeah, I mean, a couple I want to speak on, I guess. I think one of the big ones is even just the Turvo driver tracking app. We've dealt with a lot of other tracking applications, and it's one we've got a lot of feedback from our drivers. It's one of the easiest to be able to onboard if they've never, instead of like, I know I've dealt with other ones as far as just getting connected. It's a lot easier for drivers. And big thing we're pushing is to be, get all of our loads on tracking, because if we can get all of our loads on tracking, it's going to be safer for our drivers. That's one big thing we're pushing is to obviously have more safety for our drivers, and we don't have to call them as much to where they have to even worry about that, right? Like they could, send it, forget it. And not only is that going to, be safer for them, but it's going to make our guys efficient. It's going to be a track and trace team where then I can, have exceptions where if they are running behind, I mean, this is all going to be automated, where I'm not going to have as big of a track and trace team it's going to be completely automated because of the Turvo driver tracking app, and then the exceptions that Turvo has built in with that as well.
Yeah. Outstanding. All right. So Greg, what I heard there, especially in what Austin was saying, so less manual work, more automation, the visibility across the business, certainly with load visibility. And, we got to take care of the drivers. I love how he mentioned the driver experience from a safety and both in a safety and efficiency and being successful standpoint. Your thoughts, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to know what your constituency is, right? When you implement a new technology, and in this case, at least that feature, it's all about the drivers, right? It's about helping them be more efficient, helping them be safer, helping them, make more money or spend their time more effectively. All of those things. I think those are great, simple problems for a good-sized constituency. If you have a transportation company,
right?
And that's how you determine how to prioritize your technology, is a simple problem that everyone feels the pain, or a significant number of your front line on a particular process feel the pain, and want solved. And that's a really, really great way to approach it. But obviously, it's a little bit more altruistic than just solving the problem. It's recognizing, as Austin said, it's recognizing that the drivers are the front line. They are the image and the identity of the company. And of course, they take the greatest risk out there, and they carry millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars worth of freight out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they
yeah,
represent us, and they
Yep.
they represent our customers. I mean, at the end of the day, they're an arm. I mean, obviously we're an arm of our customers, but they're an arm of our customers. And
yeah,
big thing is if we can get some of the same drivers on the same loads for our customers. I mean, it's to be able to have that experience for our customers, vendors, or our customers' customers at that point. I mean, it's to get to get Greg, to get Steve, that comes constantly, and the same guy that. I mean, you get unloaded faster. You build those relationships. You're in and out. I mean, it's pleasant for everyone. So.
KYD, know your driver. We need a policy like
Big.
that.
They're as
I mean,
important.
who doesn't?
More important.
You think about it, just about your UPS driver, right? Everybody, maybe even sends them a Christmas card. And yeah, I mean, if you're a delivery driver of goods, knowing that you can count on that person, and knowing that person and having this sort of affinity for them is really valuable. So if you can facilitate that, especially in this market, that's really powerful.
Well, I think, Scott, you were asking kind of about competitive advantages. And one thing that maybe we don't talk about enough as an organization, Turvo-wise, our design and experience really is one of our competitive advantages. And I think we understand that in order to get adoption of technology, it has to be easy to use, especially for a driver. I mean, how many apps does a driver have to use today? And it's really hard to get them to open another one. But we see a ton of success with our customers leveraging the app that's just native to our TMS. I think 95% of the shipments is kind of best in class for, I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is. I want to point out one other thing that I heard, Austin, you mentioned near the beginning of our conversation here today. So in a second, we're going to get into one of our favorite topics, just sheer outcomes and results. We're going to get there in just a second, right? I think it's important for folks. But I want to go back to something you mentioned on the front end, Austin, because I think it's fair to say when it comes to technology, you go through selection, and I'm simplifying. You go through selection, you buy it, you get it implemented, and then you're on your own. And that aftercare, that aftercare is so important as we continue to fully utilize it and really drive the return on investment. And Austin, I think you pointed out that ongoing training that Anthony and Turvo team offers your growing team and how important that is, right? Speak to that for a second, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, every single week. So I have a weekly meeting with our customer success rep, Gil. Again, shout out Gil. He's been excellent. I mean, to help us be able to, build reports I have a parking lot of questions. When you first go through a TMS change, it's insane. So that to actually make that change, and then within over a 6-week period, that's 6 to 8 week period. We had, and shout out to Kara, she was awesome for onboarding. But we probably had, 80 to 120 questions, that we just, hey, how do you do this? Is there a certain way you can do this? And, it's been awesome to be able to get instant feedback and be like, no, that's actually a good idea. Let's put that as an enhancement. And we've already seen some enhancements for Q4 and then going into Q1 of next year. It's awesome to be able to have someone that, a partner that we can work with and then to even look at all the enhancements that we can see for Q1, Q2 of next year that we're already excited that are going to be coming up.
Love that. And Greg, we've touched on this as Anthony and some of his colleagues have joined us on previous shows. I think they call it Turvo University. And I sure hope they grade on a curve for slower students like me that may be enrolled. But Greg, how important that aftercare program? You've been a part of thousands of implementations. That's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, unquestionably. It's inevitable that somebody is going to get stuck, or they're going to need a feature, or they don't understand how to operate a feature, even as simple as they can be. Right. So having someone to help them understand, or they face a business situation that they haven't faced before, and having people like on Anthony's team that can identify, hey, we've been through that with other customers, or maybe even been through it in their own career or whatever. Here's what you can do there, or help. Sometimes when you talk about aftercare, it's not about broken technology. It's really about how to apply the technology to a specific business situation, or how to utilize the technology in a new business situation or something like that. So having that kind of breadth of knowledge is really incredibly valuable. It's really what keeps people on your technology, right?
Love that, Greg. Great points there. Anthony, I'm going to give you the final word because I know this has been a popular aspect of how y'all do business. It's got to be pretty fulfilling to be there. And it really, I think, from what as I've learned more about it the last couple of years, you build these long-term relationships, and the businesses, everyone's business changes. To be there and to help them through those changes, what they call it over at Gartner, Greg, through the turns. The turns.
Yep.
Anthony, I bet y'all get a lot of great feedback on that component of how y'all do business, huh?
We do. And, we put a lot of time and energy into building our customer success program. And one of the things that we focus on is building customer success plans. And those aren't things that just happen once and they live forever. We revisit those plans and we continue to hone, and we really look at our relationships with customers as partners. And I tell this to customers all the time, Turvo wins when you win. So we want to align everything that we're doing to what's going to help your business, because that helps both of us.
Does Anthony and Turvo win when the Cowboys win? That's the $1 billion question, Anthony.
Well, the Cowboys winning, I hope, has nothing to do with the success of Turvo, because you guys know what the Cowboys tend to do.
Hey,
so far they're looking pretty good, though, Anthony. I got to tell you,
it's Cowboys Eagles this week, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Oh, that should be a good game.
Give me a score prediction.
Oh, did someone say give us a scoreboard?
You got a score prediction?
Whoa.
I'm going 31-20 Cowboys. It's a lock.
Okay. 31-20 Cowboys.
Ooh,
all right.
I'm still in the hunt for the number 1 seed, so I mean it's not high, but hey, my hopes are still up. I'm a Cowboys fan just this weekend. So
we have a lot of folks at Turvo in Dallas. I feel like I'm just setting myself up to get crushed.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, y'all give us your predictions out there, but this is a great segue. So thank you for asking scoreboard, because when you think of scoreboard, you think of outcomes and the sheer results, and that's where we're gonna go next with Austin. So when you think of that, when you think about what all of the features and the relationship and the technology itself and how y'all have been able to really leverage all of that, tell us, what can you share about any outcomes and results that this partnership has helped deliver for West Michigan Transport?
Yeah, I think one thing we actually didn't touch on was, with the collaboration, the relationship side of things. I mean, Turvo has one line of code, so we didn't have any customers on each setup of EDI. I didn't have a tenant where customers could log in and look at their shipments. I mean, there's so many things I could sit here and talk about with other features, but even for our carriers, right? Like it's like with one click, they can book a load and they can actually get into our system now and see all of our loads that we have. And I think that's for us, making us way more efficient. If I can get set up with all of our customers on EDI, I mean, instead of being it from 7 loads per head per day on if we're talking efficiency, I'm looking at 10 to probably even 15 loads per head per day, because my guys aren't, building any loads. They're not going to necessarily be tracking and tracing. We just send a Turvo tracker tracking app. It's tracked, it's traced. I mean, obviously we'll handle the hiccups and speed bumps. It's logistics. I have way too many gray hairs at this point. So, I mean, the big thing is, it's making us efficient, and being able to give that not only to, like I said, to our customers, but our carriers. So, I mean, it's, the routing guides we set up, and that's another thing we haven't really talked about, where, I've got a dedicated lane, from Michigan to Florida, that's 5 times a week. It's like, I've got a routing guide where I can put 5 carriers from price A to B, and then your A to D, if I've got 4 carriers on it. And then if, none of the carriers want it, then it will post it up automatically. I mean, it's, instead of living in 4 or 5 different screens, I'm living in one.
Ooh, what a great visual there. I think everyone can relate to that, right? Simplifying, getting down to one screen that you can put your attention on. And the other thing, going back to your first point, and Greg, I'm gonna get you to weigh in as well. What I heard you say, Austin, is it allows you to operate with much more efficiency, so you can dedicate more time to growing the business, which is
Right, more
really
sales.
important, right? All right, Greg, what'd you hear today?
Well, that's really that's one of the great levers of technology, is allowing people to cease to do the mundane, right? The repetitive, sometimes even very, very important tasks, but tasks that if it fits the rules, nobody needs to look at, right? And only dealing with exceptional circumstances. When you can do that is when you really can free your mind and your effort and time into improving the business or exploring more opportunities and that sort of thing. And that really, it's so satisfying for the user in that case as well,
Yeah.
right? Because people get, as you know, as Austin was talking about, nobody wants to have to do all of that administrative stuff. And if it can be done by technology, it should be. And more it is being, and we're seeing what that does for people's minds and their health and all sorts of things, and of course their job effectiveness and job satisfaction, and ultimately in an environment where we've got incredibly tight labor availability, and particularly in supply chain, and particularly in this role, that's a really, really important feature to create job satisfaction, helps create stability, and and people stick aroundedness, let's call it that.
How do you spell that?
Yeah, that's right,
Well,
Muhammad.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I think the big
Stick
thing too,
aroundedness, how do you spell that?
you have more time to build relationships. I mean, go to our slogan, building relationships through trust, one load at a time. I did, that was mine. I guess I did come up with that. But no, I mean, you got more time to build relationships with those dispatchers and your customers, and being able to figure out what their pain points are and how we can figure it out. So.
And that's critical. Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, well, we're talking just about outcomes and how we measure success. Was it last week that you told me was a record week?
Yeah. So last week was Thanksgiving, so it was the week before. So most customers in a week, most loads we've ever put up in a week. November was the biggest month that we've had for customers and load count, and it was 2 less ship days. Then because we have got obviously there's 2 less ship days than your typical month with the holiday. So it's been awesome. I mean, we're controlling what we can control, and that's the customers and the load count. I mean, obviously we're in a down market, right? Like you can't control certain parts. I mean, the average, revenue per load is probably down, 25 to 30% across the board for every brokerage, right? So we're controlling what we're controlling and maintaining the relationships we have, for, like I said, between our carriers and our customers.
Mm. Anthony, that's a great addition. And anything else? So Anthony, I'll get you the last comment here when we think about these outcomes and results. To try to simplify all that Austin just shared there. It helps you hire and onboard, right, and getting return on that investment. It helps you execute on more volume, and then of course it helps you grow and add significant volume there, and kind of to add Austin's last point there, kind of kind of overarching over the top is building and having some time to invest in the relationships, which is so critical to always doing business and growing business. So Anthony, what would you add, your final word on those outcomes and results that are making up a big part of the story at West Michigan Transport?
I'm going to reiterate a little bit what I said earlier, but look, the customer journey with Turvo, it doesn't end. It's something that it changes every year. It changes every 12, 18 months. We focus on different things, but it's all about business outcomes, and it's about improving retention, increasing your scale and efficiency. And then that kind of promised land is where Turvo is driving the expansion of your business. But that's an ongoing thing, and it never stops. And it's a partnership all the way through till the end. And I'm excited to have West Michigan be a partner with us. And we're still in the early stages of our journey, but we're already seeing wins. And those tidbits that Austin shared, that's the fun of what we do. I mean, it's music to my ears, and it's awesome. And congrats to you, Austin, and the West Michigan team.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll keep giving you updates. So keep sending you record weeks.
Can't stop, won't stop. Love it. All right. So stay tuned, folks. We're going to get Greg's patented key takeaway in a few minutes. We're going to make sure, folks, y'all know how to connect with Austin Anthony in just a second. But hey, speaking of updates, Austin, since you're showing lots of care for my Clemson Tiger Trevor Lawrence. We're being told only they're claiming a sprained ankle. Of course, it was stepped on by a teammate in an innocuous play, as they're calling it. He's still undergoing further tests. So how about that? Ask and you shall receive. Thank you, Amanda and Catherine, for helping to make
my
things
fantasy team
happen.
needs it.
Also, Sky's helping us spell dick roundedness. Thank you, Sky. I appreciate that. Our experts are torn. Bridget says 34-28 Eagles. Alonzo says 27-24 Cowboys. And we've got a couple questions. Hopefully, y'all have a chance. I'm not sure who this user is, but we'll see if we can't get Anthony connected with a few folks out there after today's show. Right? I know we can't hit everybody's comments and questions. Okay. So, Greg, we still got a little more to go before we wrap up here today. And, Greg, I'm going to give you a chance. This is, when I hear stories like this, right, especially in this environment that we're seeing, I mean, these are things that many other folks can take advantage of, right? Put it in a headlock and go out there and fight the good fight, Greg. I mean, to me, that's a big reason why we have these conversations.
Yeah, it is. And I think, the lesson here, I mean, a good part of the lesson is find someone you can partner with. Find a technology provider that you can partner with who will make the commitment that Anthony and the team at Turvo has made to West Michigan, and embrace that and engage that and be a good partner for them as well, because that is so critical when companies get together like that and they understand one another and they build a rapport and they build understanding of each other's business, what they can and can't do, what they want to and don't want to do, right? That's a really, really important thing. And when you are willing to build that relationship with a technology or service provider, it is so incredibly valuable, because they want, like Anthony has showed here today, they really want to help you be better, and it helps them be better as a business. So,
right.
Don't just do what I call the technology paradox, which is buy technology and go, okay, that's solved. What's next? It really takes effort. It's gonna cause change within your organization. It's going to cause change to your business processes. You have to commit to that, but also recognize that people like Anthony have done this hundreds or thousands of times, like I have. And the question that might be vexing you for days or weeks or months is something they may be able to answer off the top of their head, because they literally have done it hundreds of times. So don't fail to use that resource to make your business better. That's just so incredibly valuable.
Agreed. I love that technology paradox too. I was laughing because I'm guilty of doing that plenty of times, probably in my past. So that's a great call out, Greg. All right. Speaking of good news here, and I love this story, folks. Thank you all for spending some time with us. Austin, what's next for West Michigan Transport? And make sure you share with us how our listeners can reach out and connect with you.
Yeah, like I said, we got this 10,000 square foot office. Like I said, I'd give you a tour anytime you guys are in the Grand Rapids area. I mean, hey, it's Beer City, USA, so we'll have to go grab a beer, but you'll have to give a tour of the office as well. It's a unicorn office. I remember getting the tour of it initially, and we're like, they're like, well, we got to show you, and we walked in, we're like, this is it. We didn't want to be in something that was comfortable. We wanted to get in something that we can grow into. We want to be an employer of choice, and we want to be able to give the opportunity on not only the sales side, the accounting side, but the operations side of things too. So, we're looking forward to filling this office up, open another office in Michigan, but I got to get somewhere warm. I've spent way too many winters just freezing. So maybe Arizona, maybe Florida, or maybe I'll come join you down there in Dallas, Anthony. Oh,
I love it. So growth, what I heard there, besides your need to get somewhere warm, is growth, and more growth. And that's awesome, Austin. And okay, so folks, you also kind of put an invite out there. I don't want to put words in your mouth, to come visit you, come check out one of your offices, one of your several offices. How can folks connect with you, Austin?
Oh yeah. Yep. Sorry. For obviously anybody looking to apply, be careers at westmichigantransport.com. I think we're dropping that in the comment section there, as well as our LinkedIn link. Or if you need to get a hold of me or have any questions on your supply chain, or if there's any way that we can help, or even just email me directly. It's Austin. Keep it simple at westmichigantransport.com. I wish it was a little shorter, but yeah, again, it's Austin at westmichigantransport.com. Also,
love that. And we're dropping all that in the chat. And one I want to call attention to, because y'all are hiring, is this careers at westmichigantransport.com as well. We got that. We got Anthony's or Austin's LinkedIn, Anthony's LinkedIn, you name it. All those will be in the chat. Y'all check that out one click away. All right, Anthony, this has got to be exciting. This has got to be, I mean, to do what you do and have an impact, you and the team have an impact on businesses out there. West Michigan Transport, just the latest one we've talked about here. What is one thing, just one thing that excites you the most when it comes to what Turvo's doing out in the marketplace? And how can folks connect with you, Anthony?
Well, I'm not sure if you guys can still hear me now. The struggles of being in a
Can't hear you, but you're frozen.
That's right.
I'm glad you can hear me. I hope I didn't freeze in an embarrassing position. But
you look good.
This is just how it goes when you're in tech. Sometimes your tech doesn't work all that well.
That's right.
But the thing that excites me most about what we're doing is just continuing down the path of being the first collaborative supply chain platform. And we're going to continue to get all of our customers down the road of their customer journey to realize why collaboration is important, to realize how it unlocks new revenue streams, new business lines, and really deepens their partnerships with all of their trading partners. When it comes to getting a hold of me, you can reach out via email, aceratelli@turvo.com. LinkedIn is just Anthony Ceratelli. This was great. I appreciate both you, Scott, and Greg, and Austin. Obviously, you're the man.
Hey, we appreciate it too. I mean, these stories, right, where you got teams.
There it is.
There we go, Anthony, looking like $1 million. The stories, I think for as much takeaway, like practitioner takeaway and technology takeaway, even leadership takeaway, for all of that offers the inspiration that folks can grow and thrive in this environment, despite all the bad news we get out there. Although Greg started with some good news. We'll see. We'll talk more about that. But this is what a great story of growth. Keep your fingers crossed. That's right. So big thanks to Austin, Anthony. But before we leave, Greg, if you had to boil it down to just one thing here today on this story of growth and success and innovation and real partnership, not partnership that stops with the deal, but the thing that keeps on growing together. What's your one favorite takeaway from today's conversation?
Yeah, find a partner that is as committed to your growth as you are, and that means they're willing to engage with you and help you grow, and also they're willing to grow their own services and technology to support you as you get bigger. A lot of companies start in a market of relatively small companies, and they are going through that evolution themselves to working with larger and larger and more complex companies. Make sure they are both willing and able to do those things. And I think this is a great evidence of that, right? I mean, Lions fans and Cowboys fans getting together, right? Not even complaining about the fact that they almost picked the same colors for their teams. None of that. I think that's a really important aspect of it is keeping, keeping it a partnership and keeping it bi-directional. So you're always collaborating with one another to improve one another.
That's right. Well said. Austin, you were going to add something there.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was a point where we were looking at, building our own, and it's just, looking back, and I know some of, a lot of other, carriers and brokers have tried to build their own, but it's like, when you have a partner like Turvo, I mean, I just don't see, the headache and trying to figure out when you have an entire team and a partner like we have, it's, sky's the limit. We're excited.
It sounds like it. Sounds like the sky is indeed the limit, and that's an important point there at the end. As challenging as it would be, undoubtedly, Greg, to build your own and try to build it better. Hey, put all that time and energy and resource, partner with the pros, and put all of that into growing the business. Greg, would you agree on that?
Yes. To quote the great philosopher Travis Kelce, "Shut your laptop and know your role."
All right.
Yeah, let's put this in another perspective. I think it's crazy for companies to build their own technology. First of all, it creates this sort of duchy that you're a slave to within your own company because you got this IT team that has to have work. Secondly, you don't have the breadth of expertise that Anthony has from hundreds or thousands of implementations, and you build it for a problem, right, that you perceive, not a problem that people like Anthony and other folks at Turvo have seen the root cause of and solve from there out.
Yes.
So I think that's, it's important to know it. And just imagine if Turvo was looking for customers and they just decided to start a bunch of trucking companies. Who would think that's a good idea?
Right. Excellent
Not
point
me.
there. Well, Austin, I'm glad that brought up. Sometimes we got to stop the curtains from shutting and make a really important point that listeners got to take away from these conversations. So, Austin, Greg, and Anthony, good stuff there. All right, folks, we've dropped all the links. We encourage you to connect with Austin and Anthony. Their teams are growing. Their teams are doing special things out in the marketplace. I love the relationship and partnership we've highlighted here. And frankly, Austin, you're creating jobs. Right. So even if whether you love supply chain, love freight, or if you don't, creating jobs where 20 folks have joined since last year and have some great opportunities to do special things in their career. That's cool too. Big thanks. Austin Pearson, co-owner, executive vice president of customer sales with West Michigan Transport. Austin, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
You bet. Go Lions. Anthony Saratelli, Director of Customer Success with Turvo. Great to collaborate with your team again, Anthony.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
That's right. Good luck to the Cowboys this weekend and beyond. And Greg, always a pleasure to knock out these conversations with you.
Yeah, my pleasure too. Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate you joining us.
That's right. And to the listeners out there, to the viewers, listeners, you name it, all the folks across our global audience, take one thing from this conversation here today. I bet there's so many different ways I think folks can relate to this conversation, whether as a technologist or an entrepreneur, a business leader, a freight mover, a supply chain practitioner, you name it. There's something for everybody. Take one thing, put it in action. Deeds, not words. That's what it's all about. And on that note, on behalf of our entire team, Scott Luton challenges you to do good, to give forward, and to be the change. We'll see you next time right back here at Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.